Hello friends! We're gonna go a little vlog style today. I'm Daisy Victoria, by the way, and usually my videos are not so vloggy, they're more tripod mounted, but today I'm gonna try this out while I create a pegboard to hang on the back of my door. I've actually been wanting a pegboard for a really long time, and I was kind of inhibited by not really having a spot on the wall to put it, so I'm solving that by hanging it over the back of a door. Here it is, the door which shall receive the pegboard. Here is the pegboard. It's laid out on the floor. It's actually white on the other side. White and brown on the back. I actually got these cut at Home Depot where I bought everything. So it was one long piece and I had them cut it into two 4-foot pieces so it would fit there. 1 by 2 by 8. And then that 8 feet was cut into two pieces of 4 feet, which is perfect because the pegboard is 4 feet. Also over here are some decorations I mean to put up on my wall, and that's my burgundian gown because I actually just filmed my get ready with me video. Okay, it was actually yesterday. And here are some screws and some hooky things for the pegboard. I actually took advantage of Christmas sales and I purchased 4 over-the-door wreath hangers. I thought 4 might be needed because it's going to be a little heavy with all the stuff on it. What I've come up with to attach the pegboard is actually I cut some pieces of hemp, which I already had a roll of, so that's why I selected it, and I'm tying them on, so I already tied a couple of them, and then I'm just gonna hang that on these like so. Now, I do need to attach these. I mean, you could hang the pegboard on the door without those, but I like how it kind of gives it a little buffer on the back side, you know, so it's not quite bumping around as much, at least in theory. So here's a drill I'm going to be using, and I got these screws. These are actually a little bit long because I had originally intended to find some place where I could put this on my wall, but I have not found a place. So I'm gonna actually let them stick out on the front, and then I'm gonna do some sort of creative decoration to cover them. Now, as I drill, I realize I'm gonna need both hands, so I shall be back. It will look like no time has passed in the video, but I'm gonna try to set up my tripod so that I can actually capture what I'm doing. Alright, we have a bit of an angle down, but it appears we can actually see, so that is very good. I'm gonna open up my screws, and I believe I have the correct tip on the drill, but let's just see. Seems like it fits. Perfect. Now I want these wood pieces to go on the edges. If you were putting it on the wall, you could actually screw it all the way through to the wall. That was my original intention, but that's not what's happening. So I'm going to screw them in here, and because these are very long, they were intended to be able to fit into the wall, I'm actually going to screw them from the back toward the front, so that any excess that hangs out is on the front, and then I can sort of cover that up and make it a part of the decoration. So basically I need to find where it needs to go. Now, it can actually go through a hole. I know it's getting a little far away, but you can see, hopefully, the head of the screw does not go through that hole. So it is entirely possible to stick it through there. Now, were I to do it from the front side, that would be super easy, right? Because I could just line this up and stick the screw right in. But because I want to do it from the back side, that provides a little bit more of a challenge. And I think what I'm going to do is actually turn it over to the front and mark where that is on this piece so that I know exactly where to screw from. Alright, so this is probably exactly the same on the front and back, but I just want to make sure. So I went ahead and turned it over. Now obviously the downside to putting wood behind it is that you lose some of these holes on the sides, but I don't think I'm going to be hanging much from the sides anyway, because that just seems like the most likely place to have a poor weight distribution versus hanging things from the center. So we're going to line this up. And it's kind of funny because, you know, there isn't really one in the center, and I almost want to screw it in the center, but I am going to ultimately go ahead and screw it through those holes. So now that I have those marked, I believe that should be good. So what I'm gonna do is just get each one started, and then I will complete it in the pegboard. Okay, so now I've got a nice little hole in there. It's at least started. I'm gonna go ahead and do that with all 4 points. So what I've noticed is that on the pegboard, the holes are closer to the edge at one end versus the other, and that's consistent on both sides. And I want to make sure that when I flip these around, they're actually still matched up to the edge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to swap, like, which one is which. So I'm just gonna measure that so I can swap it. I'm about to grab a pin to mark. I'm so used to sewing. So this one is 5/8 of an inch, which means that's what the one on the bottom end needs to be. The one on the bottom edge is 7/8 of an inch, so that's what this top one needs to be. And then the same for this guy. This one that I actually already started. So we're gonna drill right next to where I started actually. I caught a piece of thread. I don't know why my pin cushion and scissors are here. I really don't need those for this project. Okay, so let's kind of take a look at this now. So I think it was right the first time. So actually this end does need to be closer and this end does need to be further, so I think it was right the first time. What happened was that I actually did flip them over when I was first measuring them, so I actually already accounted for that, so hey, good deal. Wow, it's been a really long time since I've used a drill. The last time was actually on my steampunk fairy wings. I seem to recall my materials being a little easier to drill through than these. Usually once you get a screw into the wood, it tends to be easier to keep it going. These guys are being a little bit of a pain for me anyway. I need to charge my battery, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these screws kind of going in while my battery recharges, and then I'll pick back up as soon as I can. So what happened is one of my screws actually started splitting the wood on the end, so I don't think putting them on the ends is the best idea, at least not for the wood I have purchased. So what I'm gonna do is take the screws out and then mark a point, you know, maybe a little bit further in on each one, and I'm gonna start screwing them that way. I am gonna put the battery back on the charger while I begin that, since you kind of saw what it looks like to mark the holes anyway. And then I will be right back. I noticed that I can actually line up the other side of this with the back side of the board and mark the holes, and it works great. So I won't have to measure anything. And then the other thing is that I actually would like to pull these out a little bit, because I think that if I put the screws in closer to the center of this board, it may have less of a chance of splitting, and it may be a little bit stronger in the end. So I'm just letting it be on the outside of the pegboard just a little bit to where it kind of seems centered. So I think maybe 5 down should be all right. 5 pegboard holes, that is. All right, so at this point I've started putting all 4 of the screws through my boards, and I'm gonna continue to push them through a little bit with the drill and then actually attach them to the pegboard. So it's just starting to come out the other side. That's when I want to put the pegboard on. See, I got a little cracked off piece of wood on that one. Alright, so now let's try drilling this through the pegboard. I'm actually going to try this angle for now so I can actually drill them on this way. So let's see what happens. So at this point, I've got a couple issues going on. So the screws can in fact go through, but there's nothing to hold them on the other side because I forgot that part. I will actually need some sort of a washer to go on the other side to hold it in place. Furthermore, this screw is stripped. It will not go in or out anymore. I'm sure I can unscrew it using my pliers and start over. Honestly, I'm feeling a little bit defeated right now and wondering if it's even worth putting these boards on the back. Like, are they really worth all the trouble I'm going to? I don't really feel like going to the store to get a washer, well actually multiple washers to go on all the screws. I'm gonna go ahead and put this up without the boards, and I'm gonna kind of see what it might look like with the boards behind it to then decide if I want to pick that back up again. So I'm gonna go ahead and tie all of my strings back on. I'm gonna put them in the second from the end here, just because if I do want to put the board back on, that will allow me a place to do that. Alright, now we're going up on the door with the hooks. And we're going to take this and just hang each of these strings onto a hook. So now let's just kind of see what it would look like if I did put one of these behind it. So it would definitely be pretty cool, and I think it would actually add a little stability. So I think I would like to continue the project of putting those behind, which means I'm going to need to take one of my screws with me to Home Depot so I can get washers that fit them, and then I'm going to need to take out that stripped screw and put in a new one in that spot. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and put these wood boards behind here, and they're kind of staying in place as it is due to gravity. That one screw, I could not get it out. I also could not hammer it all the way in. And because I don't want to work with buying new materials right now, I'd rather actually be able to use my pegboard, because that's the entire reason I got it. I may upgrade later, but for now I'm going to go ahead and actually start using it. I have a couple different peg styles. They all just kind of lock into the holes there. One of the reasons why I wanted to swap to a pegboard is because my thread box exploded. So I'm trying to organize my thread a little bit. This is my cone thread rack, of which I do not have enough space for the cone threads I own. So I'm going to start organizing with what I have, and then I either need to get another rack like this or a lot more pegs so I could individually hang the cones. I think I actually really like this rack because I can easily set it on here, and then you might want to set it a little bit lower than that below the other one. But I can set so many threads on the one rack. And I'm putting it lower because I very rarely use these little ones. So I feel like the cones need to be a lot more accessible, as well as the bobbins, which I have on the side here. So that's kind of all that fits on that one rack for now. I have a few more that go on here that have fallen in my box, and then I'm going to have to buy another one of these racks so I can put it down here and add more thread to that. And then I'm thinking I'll put my scissors and other tools on the side here. I kind of thought about putting them on this side, but the problem is that when I open the door, you know, the thread's going to run into the wall really fast if I put them on that side. And this way I can open the door a little bit wider. That's why I'm choosing to do it that way. I know this hasn't been a super great carpentry video or like a great building video in general, but I did get this thing up and it appears to be functional, and that's really what matters. So sometimes things don't have to be absolutely perfect, they just have to work. And that's kind of where I'm at with this thing. I also have some cool foliage and stuff, fake foliage, which I'm going to use to decorate it. So after I get it loaded, I'm going to do decorations and make it look really nice. So it appears I actually have 2 more little threads than what fits up there too. This one is almost completely empty, so I think I'm going to throw it out, as well as this. Let's see, it looks like this one is almost totally empty too. You know what, instead of throwing these out, I'm actually going to use them. I'm going to set them aside and make sure that whenever I do hand stitching in apparently black and navy blue, I actually pull from these before going to my cones, so that way I won't have to waste it. So I found another extra thread. It was actually this one. And I decided to take off this thread because it's sort of a dark red maroon. I have several cones the same color, and I don't really like this one very much because it's kind of flimsy. So I'm going to get rid of it, and then I have room for all my little threads. So one more cone thing to go below, and then putting the pegs on for my other tools, and then decorating as desired, and I will actually have my pegboard that I've wanted for so long, and I'm really excited to have it. Even though the boards are not perfect behind it, it is appearing to be functional, at least for now. I think it's gonna work. Alright, I'm back from the store. I got another cone thread rack. And actually I went ahead and attached some roses and some lavender sprigs. So I've already started decorating. I'm gonna take the tag off of this and put it up. It looks like I have 1 too many threads for the thread rack. Some of these little ones, I only really ever double up anyway on the serger, so I'm going to go ahead and put 2 together. And then they all fit. I also got this garland to add to my thread rack, or I guess it's mostly a thread rack now, but other tools are going up too. Alright, it's a little bit later, and I did add a few more things to my pegboard. Mostly over here, I've got this cute little jellyfish ornament I found. I've got a couple tape measures, fabric scissors, paper scissors, a pouch to hold my pin cushion, pinking shears. That is actually the timer for my camera in there. Some extra pins, some pliers, and then lots of thread. So this certainly isn't all of the sewing supplies I own. It's simply the ones that I feel I'm always reaching for when I'm in this room, which is actually not where my sewing machine even is. I mean, the thread should go by the sewing machine ultimately in the grand scheme, but I think it works here because it's really well organized and I can easily get to it. One more thing, I have some lights and I'm just hiding the little thing here. There we go. Ta-da! I'm actually really liking the way this looks with the fake foliage around it and all my thread here. The thread was the main thing I really needed to organize, and I'll keep playing with maybe some tool arrangement over there. Right now I feel like already I've made a huge dent and I'm so happy to have this pegboard up. This video has been a little bit more construction based, whereas most of my videos are more costume focused. But this is what one might need to make costumes, some sort of organization so that one does not go crazy while sewing. Hopefully you found this inspirational or at least amusing with my attempts at building something. Either way, if you'd like to continue seeing my costume stuff, make sure that you subscribe and check back. You can also find me on the social medias. And you know what? If you guys are trying to make a pegboard thing and you want a really simple one that goes over the door, you can try this and then you can tag me and show me what you came up with, because I think it's a really cool, like, temporary, sort of more mobile version of a pegboard that's usually on the wall. And I think it was perfect for my needs at this time. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you again very soon with my next costume project. Bye bye. Whoops. I can't stand.